Chapter 4468. When Tan Xiaoding Yukong left the Divine Weapon spacecraft, his eyes were full of fighting spirit. For him, this battle with the fierce bandits is a kind of training for him. He hasn't had such a passionate feeling for a long time, although, in the past, he has also been to the three holy realms. However, that cost a lot of money and found the strongest asylum. Between the three sacred realms and Pingxiong realm, there are special divine weapon spaceships sheltered by the strong, and these spaceships often belong to some powerful casual repairs or forces, and the strong take shelter. Of course, the benefits he gave alone, even if his family went bankrupt, would not necessarily allow a strong person to protect him. Generally, an artifact spaceship sheltered by a strong man travels back and forth between the heavenly sand realm and the three holy realms. There are definitely no less than 30 people on the artifact spacecraft. Even, in most cases, there are hundreds of people. Last time, there were more than 40 people in the divine weapon spaceship he was on, seeking asylum like him. Sitting in that kind of spaceship, he doesn't need to do anything at all. All the thugs who block the way are repelled by the powerful who sit on the magical spaceship, and even killed. It was the first time that he himself took action to deal with the bandits who went back and forth between the three holy realms and the peaceful majestic realm. There is no need to worry at all. No matter how strong the bandit is, you will be done. If it is really not an opponent, there will be Young Master and Deputy Army Master Hu. Because there are Duan Lingtian and Hu Fian behind him, two powerhouses close to the invincible high-ranking gods, Tan Xiaoding has no worries at all. Only 4 people? After Tan Xiaoding left the spaceship, he looked at the person blocking the road, only to find that there were only 4 people. 2 young people, a young woman, and the 3 walked side by side, and behind them stood a middle-aged man who was obviously a little bit servile. The middle-aged man looked a little sloppy, but the robes on his body made Tan Xiaoting's pupils shrink slightly. It was just because the robe on the other party was a uniform, with the word Yuan embroidered on the chest, and he had only seen this kind of uniform not long ago. It was the clothes worn by the dozen or so bandits he killed last time. At that time, the leader of the bandit was also very strong, not weaker than the bandit met last time, and the other side yelled desperately just before he was killed by him. "Kill me, you will regret it." At that time, he didn't take it seriously and killed the opponent directly. He has been in the sky and sand for many years, and he has seen too many people who don't want to make people live before death, and the threat that those people say before death is only a joke in the end. It's scary. This time, is it real? Tan Xiaoting's pupils shrank slightly, and at the same time, he thought that the last time he encountered the group of gangsters and killed them all, at the same time he diffused out of the sense of exploration, he was indeed aware of the movement in the depths of the jungle. However, the movement was very keen, and he ran off the ground directly, leaving his mind to see through. At that time, he thought it was a great demon who was good at the laws of the Earth system, and was frightened by his spiritual sense. But now it seems that it should be the one who survived the bandit organization. Maybe it was the sloppy middle-aged man in front of me. My lord, he killed the leader. While Tan Xiaoding was distracted, the slightly sloppy middle-aged man stared at him with hatred in his eyes. His strength is better than the leader. Although he is not much stronger, he is with his speed faster than the leader. Our Yuan organization was defeated one by one, and the leader was also killed by him. Meta-organization. Tan Xiaoding suddenly realized that the group of thugs he killed last time was from this Yuan organization. However, after that war, it was obvious that the Yuan organization was almost wiped out. Now, listening to what the sloppy middle-aged said, our Met organization, it is not difficult to hear that the helper the other party finds is foreign aid, not that Met organization. And as the sloppy middle-aged voice fell, the young man in the white robe studded with gold trim among the 3 young people took another step forward, staring at Tan Xiaoding as if condescendingly. Immediately, he said in a cold tone, "It was you who killed my junior brother, Zhang Yuan?" Zhang Yuan. Tan Xiaoding didn't know him. However, combined with what the sloppy middle-aged said just now, it is not difficult for him to guess that the Zhang Yuan in the mouth of the youth in front of him should be the leader of that Yuan organization, the youth who was killed by him in the last time he encountered the road looting. It seems somewhat uncomfortable. That time, I also tried my best to kill them, the person in front of me. Under this circumstance, I dare to come, which shows that I have no fear. Plus, he said he was Zhang Yuan's senior, and his posture was obviously to give the other party an opportunity. His strength is not below me, even stronger. Thinking of this, Tan Xiaodong already knew it, and at the same time he sighed helplessly. He thought it was another group of bandits who practiced with him, but he didn't expect that he could not solve the problem. Without any hesitation, Tan Xiaodong directly informed his young master, Duan Lingtian. At the same time, inside the divine weapon spacecraft, he was still chatting with Hu Fian. Duan Lingtian, who was not paying attention to the outside situation, raised his brows slightly and then smiled at Hu Fian and said, Tan Xiaodong said that he can't handle the person blocking the road this time. Isn't there a fight yet? I don't think I can deal with it before I fight. Hu Fian, who had not paid attention to the outside before, heard Duan Lingtian's words. She couldn't help but frown slightly. Let's go out and have a look. Duan Lingtian stood up as he said, maybe it just happens to be able to move. Hu Fian also stood up, and then left the divine weapon spaceship suspended in midair with Duan Lingtian, and even after leaving the divine weapon spacecraft, he directly put the divine weapon spaceship away. After Duan Lingtian and Hu Fian came out one after another, they also went out from the sky, and they came to Tan Xiaoting's side, looking calmly at the person in front of them. Haha. At the same time, the opposite of Duan Lingtian's trio, the green-robed youth next to the white-robed youth, saw the Duan Lingtian who had just appeared, couldn't help but laugh. Zhongyu, it seems that the other party still has a helper. If you deal with it no, just speak up. Since Miss Linghu and I are here with you, we will definitely not look at you at a loss. Miss Linghu, in the mouth of the green-robed youth, was obviously the young woman beside him. Although the appearance of the young woman was unremarkable, her temperament was a bit cold. Standing there, she looked close, but she gave a sense of distance as if she was 1,000 miles away. Zhongyu? Before the white-robed young man could speak, Hu Fian beside Duan Lingtian had his eyes suddenly lit up, and then stared at the white-robed young man in front of him, and asked in a slightly eager tone, Are you, Zhongyu, the young patriarch of the Zhong clan entailing, Pingxiong? At the same time as the voice fell, Hu Fian's eyes were already raging. On the side, Duan Lingtian couldn't help being startled when he heard Hu Fian's words and saw Hu Fian's current posture. At the next moment, he just came back to his senses and said in his heart, It seems that Hu Fian has heard of the other party. Currently, the premise is that the other party is the person in her mouth. Hu Fian. This is clearly a joy to see the hunt, and I can't wait to fight the opponent right away. Sure enough, he is the deputy commander of Yintian Army. End of this chapter. Chapter 4469. Yintian Army, from top to bottom, is notoriously militant in Liangu territory. And now Hu Fian is obviously happy to see the hunt. The young patriarch of the Zhong clan of Tailing? Duan Lingtian's gaze fell on the white-robed youth at this time, allowing Hu Fian to see the joy of hunting. The strength of the opponent must also be close to the invincible high-ranking god. Otherwise, Hu Fian could not be like this. Of course, the premise is that the other party is the Zhongyu in Hu Fian's mouth. There are two other people. At the same time, Duan Lingtian's gaze fell on the other two people beside Zhongyu, the green-robed youth, and the young woman who looked ordinary but had a very special temperament. If this person is really the Zhongyu, that deputy army commander, who knows, he is close to the existence of an invincible high-ranking deity. The two people, even if they walk with him on an equal basis, they have no strength. Weaker than him. At this moment, Duan Lingtian thought a lot, and at the same time became vigilant. Perhaps this time, not only Hu Fian is going to make a move, but even he is going to make a move. And, at the same time, Duan Lingtian couldn't help but think of the Tailing Zhong clan behind Zhongyu, who can cultivate such an enchanting young patriarch. Maybe that clan is not an ordinary clan? Among them, there is a high probability that the strongest will be in charge. High probability is a strong force. The Tailing Zhong clan? As Hu Fian's voice fell, Tan Xiaodong, who was already standing behind Duan Lingtian and Hu Fian, had a sudden change in expression. He is the young patriarch of the Zhong clan of Tailing? The leader of the bandit I killed last time was his junior? At this moment, Tan Xiaoding only felt that his scalp was numb, and his face became extremely ugly. Damn, how could it be so unlucky? This time, it's a hornet's nest. He used to go to Pingxiong realm. Although more of them were just passing by, he had also heard of the strongest forces in Pingxiong realm, especially some of the strongest forces. The Tailing Zhong clan, in the territory of Pingxiong, although not the top strongest force, they can definitely enter the second echelon. The strongest member of the Zhong clan of Tailing is an existence that can be as famous as the Deadwood. Of course, in terms of strength, it may be slightly inferior to the Dead Tree, but among the strongest in the Pingxiong realm, it is also an absolute strong. If I remember correctly, the patriarch of the Zhong clan of this generation is the direct descendant of the head of the 3 strongest members of the Zhong clan, who has the same reputation as Lord Withered Wood. That is to say, if this person is the young patriarch of the Zhong clan, he is also a direct descendant of that person. And I killed his junior. Thinking of this again, Tan Xiaoteng's heart trembled, and at the same time he hurriedly transmitted to Duan Lingtian, Master, if this is really the young patriarch of the Zhong family, please save my life. After all, the reason why I killed his junior was to clear the way for you and Deputy Army Master who... Now Tan Xiaoding is really scared. In the outside world, the strong are not terrible. The terrible thing is to provoke the strong. And Duan Lingtian, at this time, heard Tan Xiaoteng's fear from his heart and couldn't help but curiously asked, that Zhong clan is very strong? Just as Duan Lingtian and Tan Xiaoteng's master and servant were communicating, the white-clothed youth named Zhong Yu glanced at Hu Fian arrogantly. Yes, I am the young patriarch of the Zhong clan. How dare you kill my junior? Today, the 3 of you will all be dead here. After Zhong Yu talked about it, his tone was indifferent, as if in a word, the life and death of Hu Fian, Duan Lingtian, and Tan Xiaoding could be at most. If you want to kill me, you have to see if Zhong Yu has that ability. Hu Fian stepped out of the sky. The law of body space merged with divine power shocks, and the powerful force caused the surrounding space to tremble and then burst. In Hu Fian's hands, her supreme divine weapon, the compass-shaped weapon, was also taken out by her, exuding bursts of even more terrifying power, as if it could control the world. The power of the law of the small perfect realm, the world's visions that appeared, also began to sweep through the air, shaking in all directions. And Zhong Yu, at this time, also saw that Hu Fian was not simple. His face couldn't help but became serious. Seeing the scene in front of him, and then thinking about the fighting spirit rising in the opponent's eyes after knowing his identity, he is not difficult to guess that the opponent is not afraid of him, and the strength is not under him. It's just that, now that he sees the laws and artifacts displayed by the other party, he can't help but wonder. In Pyeongseong, when did such a mission come out? In the territory of Pingxiong, he has basically heard of any existence that is close to the invincible high-ranking gods, even if he does not know them, but there is no one in front of them. At the same time, the green-robed young man standing not far from Zhong Yu's side also showed doubts at first, but as the woman next to him transmitted a voice to his ears, he suddenly realized it, and his eyes brightened. The next moment, he looked at Zhong Yu and smiled. Zhong Yu, this person's strength is not weaker than you. Maybe you really want to ask us for help today. You know him? Zhong Yu was still wondering about the identity of the other party, and when he heard the words of the person next to him suddenly, he couldn't help but frown for a while and asked bluntly, if I guessed correctly. The gaze of the green-robed youth fell on Hu Fian from a distance. This one should be the righteous daughter of the leader of the Liangu realm Yintian army, Hu Fian deputy leader, right? Yintian Jun, militant woman, deputy commander Hu Fian. When the green-robed youth's words fell into Zhong Yu's ears, his face suddenly became ugly. No wonder he didn't recognize him from the gesture in front of him. It turned out that the other party was not the existence of the invincible high-ranking deity in their Pingxiong territory. He has an understanding of the appearance and characteristics of the existence of the invincible high-ranking gods in Pingxiong, as well as the weapons and the laws that they are good at. Only for some well-known strong people outside Pingxiong, he only knows the name of the opponent and does not know the appearance and characteristics of the opponent, the weapon that is good at, and the law of good at. He has naturally heard of Hu Fian, a militarist female of Yintian army. Just because the opponent's foster father, the leader of the Nyan Heavenly Army, was the head of the three ancestors of the Zhong clan who was not weaker than them, and the direct ancestor behind him. Moreover, they heard from their ancestors that Hu Bugue came from the three holy realms and was involved with a saint power in the three holy realms. It is rumored that he also came from that saint power. No one dared to look down upon the strong who came out of the power of the saints. It turned out to be Deputy Army Chief Hu. Zhong Yu took a deep breath, the chill on his face abated, and he arched his hand to Hu Fian, Deputy Army Chief who, as you already know, it comes from the Zhong clan of Tailing, and is the young patriarch of the Zhong clan. And these two people next to me, in green clothes, are named Lingjing, from the Bingdi Long clan, and are the nephews of the patriarch of the Long clan. As for the other one, he is the jewel in the palm of the contemporary patriarch of the Linghu family of Tianmin, Linghu. Before Zhong Yu finished the introduction, he was interrupted by Hu Fian in amazement. You are the Linghu Yundi who is known to be invincible under the strongest in Pingxiong territory? But at this moment, when he heard Zhong Yu's introduction to the two people around him, even if he saw Zhong Yu's obviously more polite Tan Shouting, he still didn't feel any joy. Only a face of despair was left. The Bingdi Long clan is the strongest force in Pingxiong and the Taidizhong clan, and the Tianmin Linghu clan. That is one of the strongest forces in the Pingxiong realm. The Linghu clan is the strongest in the present age. He is the same as the father of the Deadwood, Yuanhe, and is also a half-step world sovereign. He was filled with despair. He knew that the change in Zhong Yu's attitude did not mean that the matter was resolved in this way. Even if the other party wouldn't treat Hu Fian, he would definitely not let him kill his junior and disciple with his own hands. But Hu Fian could not keep him. Master. At this moment, Tan Shouting can only regard his young master as his last straw. Chapter 4470. Although, Tan Shouting was not sure whether his young master could keep himself. However, now he has no other choice. He can only blame on this young master. Master, I killed the leader of the gangster. Also because he intercepted our way, I am helping you and Deputy Army Master Hu. Now Tan Shouting is really scared. The Tailing Zhong clan, the Bingdi Long clan, plus a Tianmin Linghu family. This time, Tan Shouting was even a little bit horrified. In the territory of Pingxiong, the strongest under the invincible upper gods? When Duan Lingtian heard Tan Xiateng seek for help, Duan Lingtian ignored him for the time being. His gaze fell completely on the young woman among the three standing in the sky not far away. He never expected that this unremarkable woman with a cold temperament had not only a terrifying background, but also such a powerful strength. At this moment, he could hear Hu Fian's tone of shock and heaviness. Vice Commander Hu, a heroine, I have heard about it, but I didn't expect that even the deputy commander of the Yintian army, who was far away in the solitary realm, knew my name. I was really flattered. Linghu Yundi also nodded slowly to Hu Fian at this time, with a kind of friendly tone, without the slightest arrogance. Speaking of, there is an elder in my family who I respect very much. He had a lot of friendship with my father back then. I have told me many times that if it hadn't been for an accident that caused shame to face my father, I would have visited my father in loneliness a long time ago. When Linghu Yundi said this, not only Zhong Yu's face sank, but Hu Fian himself was also a little confused. Her foster father still has contacts with people from the Linghu family? At this time, Tan Shouting, who stood behind, had his eyes brightened. Judging from the current situation, the daughter of the Linghu family of heaven may not really stand in opposition. Even if she can't help them, she will most likely choose to be neutral. And this is undoubtedly a great thing for him. If the daughter of the Linghu family didn't interfere, with the strength of his young master and Hu Fian's deputy army leader, it should be no problem to protect him. Of course, the premise is, Hu Fian, the deputy commander of the Yintian army, is also willing to protect him. I just hope that this deputy military commander who is still working my way, and for the face of the young master, and is willing to save my life. Although, he felt that if the situation was right, this deputy army leader who would protect himself 9 out of 10. But now, life and death are at hand. Even if it's just in case the other party can't protect himself, he can't feel at ease. I haven't heard my foster father say about this. When Hu Fian heard Ling Hu Yundi say this, her eyes softened a lot. The name of the shadow man of the tree. Ling Hu Yundi, since he was recognized as the first person under the invincible upper deity of the Pingxiong realm, she naturally had her means and strength, which she didn't doubt at all. Even if she had never fought against Ling Hu Yundi, she didn't think she could be Ling Hu Yundi's opponent. The same being close to the invincible high-ranking gods, the strength is also divided into 3, 6, or 9. It is not completely impossible to kill the strongest kind of existence that is close to the invincible high-ranking god, and the weakest kind of existence that is close to the invincible high-ranking god. As for defeat, it is not surprising. Perhaps, my father is still angry with my elder. Ling Hu Yundi sighed. Speaking of which, this is also the knot of my elder's heart. I only hope that in the future, Deputy Army Master Hu, you can say a few more words for my elder and say that he really regrets it. Ines. At this moment, Ling Hu Yundi's posture was obviously a little low, which made Hu Fian a little confused. Can her adoptive father make the people of the Tianmin family do this? Moreover, Ling Hu Yundi said that she was still her elder. Then, the opponent is also a strong one. I will tell. Although he didn't know what was going on, Hu Fian nodded his head in the face of Ling Hu Yundi's low posture and agreed. Thanks. Ling Hu Yundi opened his mouth to thank him with a sincere tone. After the voice fell, he looked at Zhongyu and said in a light tone, Zhongyu, I am here today. So you won't make you embarrass Deputy Army Chief Hu and the others? Didn't your brother have been expelled from the teacher by your master a long time ago? Let me say, your brother is willing to degenerate. As a former son of the strongest, he is going to be the leader of the gangster. Being a gangster is to pin your head to your waist, and sooner or later you will encounter hard stubble, and you deserve it if you die. As soon as Ling Hu Yundi said this, Zhong Yu's face suddenly became a little ugly. Although Ling Hu Yundi came with him this time, the other party came with him completely because of boredom. At first, he thought he could take advantage of this trip to get close to each other and build a relationship with the Ling Hu family. But now, it seems that a bit of stealing rice is not a good thing. Taking a deep breath, Zhong Yu's expression eased a lot. Miss Ling Hu, since you have spoken, then I will naturally not embarrass Deputy Army Master Hu. But, speaking of this, Zhong Yu's gaze crossed Hu Fian again and fell on Tan Xiaoding. I can't let this person who killed my junior and brother personally kill me today. When Ling Hu Yundi heard the words, he looked at Hu Fian for the first time and waited for Hu Fian to express his opinion. If Hu Fian wanted to protect the other party, she wouldn't stand by. Thinking of her elder's self-willing fall over the years, she felt uncomfortable. If she did this, it would really ease the relationship between the elder and the Yintian army leader Hu Bugui. In her opinion, everything is worth it. That elder took care of her too much in the past, making her feel that she is not worthy of retribution. Today, she finally found a chance to repay each other. You know, she used to go to Guilin City in Liangu realm in person, wanting to see the Yintian army leader. However, after the other party knew that she was a member of the Ling Hu family, they didn't see her at all. Let her only return lonely. This time, being able to get on the line with the unrequited righteous daughter might be able to open the knot for her elder. Duan Lingtian, who had never spoken, also glanced sideways at Hu Fian at this moment. Although he had learned a lot about Hu Fian from the time spent together, he was not sure what choice Hu Fian would make in the face of pressure from the Taidizhong clan in the Pingxiong realm. After all, Tan Xiaoding and her are not relatives. At this time, Tan Xiaoding was pale, looking at Hu Fian with hope, his eyes full of humble begging. What do you think? At this time, Hu Fian's eyes fell on Duan Lingshan's body and asked bluntly. At the same time as she asked, she also transmitted to Duan Lingtian, if we don't hand over the person, even now with Ling Hu Yundi's help, we can send him away. But we will suffer from Taidizhong on the next journey. The revenge of the clan. This Zhongyu, as the young master of the Zhong clan, his father is not only the contemporary patriarch of the Zhong clan, but also the strongest member of the Zhong clan and his direct ancestor. It is said that the ancestor of the Zhong clan also loved Zhongyu. Zhongyu, he can achieve today's achievements, of course, because of his superior talent, but more because of the elder of the Zhong clan. Zhu. Having said that, she paused. And if we hand over the people, we will be free from these troubles, or even a crisis. Chapter 4471. Now, what Hu Fian meant was obvious. If you don't give up Tanshoding, the next road to one of the three holy realms, the Wind Holy Realm, will not be calm, or will be chased by strong men sent by the Zhong clan of Taidi. If you give up Tanshoding, the next road, although it cannot be said that the road is smooth, will not be targeted by the Taidi Zhong clan. Master! Tanshoding was already nervous at first, but now seeing Hu Fian look at his young master and ask his own young master's opinion, he suddenly became anxious and hurriedly said, "You?" However, He Tanshoding has not finished speaking yet. Duan Lingtian has looked at Hu Fian with a firm gaze and said, "Tanshoding is my person, and this way is also clearing the obstacles for us. I can't hand him out. If he weren't there, wouldn't you and I kill the leader of the gangster?" As soon as Duan Lingtian said this, Tan Xiating's face suddenly became happy, and at the same time, he repeatedly thanked him. "Thank you, Master. Thank you, Master." At this moment, he was really grateful. Although he killed the bandit leader in order to clear the obstacles between the two in front of him, judging from the current situation, handing him over would undoubtedly save a lot of trouble. He is not a stupid person. He naturally knows that if his young master and this deputy who are to protect themselves, even if the young master of the Zhong clan, Zhong Yu, will temporarily retreat because of the existence of Linghu Yundi. However, once Linghu Yundi left, they would surely face revenge from Zhong Yu and the Zhong family along the way. If he stood in the position of two people, he felt that he would also choose to abandon himself with a high probability. But I didn't expect that this young master who didn't really have any real feelings in his own family would definitely protect himself as soon as he opened his mouth. How could he not be moved or grateful? At the same time, the complexion of Zhong Yu of the Zhong clan suddenly sank, and at the same time, his gaze at Duan Lingtian became a little more jealous. Those who can walk with a character like Hu Fian and ask for their opinions are absolutely impossible. Now, he also saw it. The person who killed his junior was the person next to him. After all, that person called this man young master. As for Hu Fian, after receiving Duan Lingtian's reply, although his expression didn't change much, his eyes flashed with appreciation. If the person in front of her gave up Tanshoding, although she could understand, she would still look down on him from the bottom of her heart. The opponent is determined to protect Tanshoding, which shows his character. If this time the other party gave up Tanshoding, after waiting for one of the three holy realms, Fengshan realm, she would definitely find an excuse to part ways with him. After all, the other party can abandon Tanshoding today, and in the future when they encounter a common crisis, they can also abandon her Hu Fian. Although she has a lot of self-protection methods from her foster father, those methods cannot be used endlessly. If the companions around you are unreliable, it is better to go alone. Zhong Yu, you also heard what my friend said. People, you can't move. Hu Fian looked at Zhong Yu with a very strong attitude. If you are not convinced, you and I will be able to fight a battle. Just so. I also want to see the methods of the young patriarch of the Zhong clan in Taidi. At this moment, on Hu Fian's body, the fighting spirit regained. A long hair broke free and the hair tress flew up, and the whole person stood there, like a female of war ready to go, majestic and majestic. When Zhong Yu heard this, although his face was ugly, he still subconsciously looked at Linghu Yundi. And Linghu Yundi, after sensing Zhong Yu's gaze, said lightly, "Zhong Yu, your junior is also to blame. This matter, so be it." When the voice fell, Linghu Yundi looked at another young man next to him and asked indifferently, "Lung Jing, what do you think?" Lung Jing, the nephew of the patriarch of the Bingdi Long clan and the genius of the Long clan, came with Linghu Yundi and Zhong Yu on this trip. He also looked at Zhong Yu when he heard Linghu Yundi's words. Said, "Zhong Yu, Miss Linghu made sense. This matter depends on Miss Linghu's face, so let's just let it go." Humph. Zhong Yu snorted coldly. He was jealous of Linghu Yundi's strength and background. He didn't say much. He just gave Duan Lingtian a bitter look, then turned and left. And Lung Jing also quickly followed. Deputy Army Chief Hu. Before leaving, Linghu Yundi glanced at Hu Fian, smiled and said, "Please don't forget what you just promised me." When the voice fell, she followed Zhong Yu and left without waiting for Hu Fian to respond. Before turning around, She didn't know whether it was intentional or unintentional. She stayed on Duan Lingtian for a while before moving away. This, and the survivor of the bandit organization, was also a sloppy middle-aged man who brought Zhongyu to the door. His face was also very ugly at this time, and he never expected this result. Of course, he didn't dare to neglect and quickly followed Zhongyu. He had no doubt that if he didn't follow up in time, he would be left behind by the opponent or even perished on the spot. A battle ended in this way. Did not even fight. However, although there was no fight, Duan Lingshan's heart was not calm. He knew that the scene just now seemed calm, but it was actually after the calmness. If Linghu Yundi of the Linghu family hadn't intervened that day, this matter could not have ended in such a hasty way. Whether it is the Taidizhong clan or the Bingdilong clan, they are all powerful families that are not weaker than Yintian army. As the genius powerhouses of the two clans, the strength is close to the existence of the invincible high-ranking gods, and naturally they are not afraid of Hu Fian. Not to mention his an unknown person. Today, if there is no Linghu Yundi, I am afraid not only Hu Fian will take the shot, but I will also take the shot. Only by overwhelming Zhongyu and Long Jing can we protect Tan Xiudong. Duan Lingtian knew this very well. This hasn't entered the three holy realms yet. It's just in one of the outer realms of the three holy realms. In this realm, there can be three existences that are close to the invincible high-ranking gods, and one of them is even more recognized as hero. The first person under the invincible high-ranking god. Thinking of Linghu Yundi, even Duan Lingtian was full of jealousy. The opponent can be recognized as invincible under the invincible upper gods of the Pingxiong realm. Naturally, there is no doubt about his strength. Even if he shoots with all his strength, even if all the laws are cloned, or even ask for the help of the Tree of Life and the of Pure Water, I am afraid that he may not be able to defeat the opponent. At most, I'm afraid it will be a tie. Even, maybe he fell into a disadvantage. After all, none of the laws he mastered has entered the realm of small perfection. His strength is strong, relying more on Kendo. That Linghu Yundi is so powerful, I'm afraid it's not just that he has a profound knowledge of the rules. It's certainly not weak in other ways, not limited to the four ways of heaven and earth. Duan Lingshan's expression became serious unconsciously. Thank you, Master, and thank you, Deputy Chief Hu. At the same time, seeing Zhong Yu's backs completely disappeared before his eyes, Tan Xiudong breathed a sigh of relief, but also hurriedly thanked Duan Lingtian and Hu Fian. In his opinion, he has recovered his life today. Young Master, Deputy Army Leader Hu. The young master of the Taidizhong clan left just now because he was afraid of Miss Linghu from the Tianmin Linghu family. After leaving, he may not be able to give up. Tan Xiudong suggested. Otherwise, we will take a detour on the next road. I can control the divine weapon spacecraft. Master and Deputy Army Master who can practice or understand the laws and the four realms of the world with peace of mind. Tan Xiudong made such a suggestion, naturally not only for Duan Lingtian and Hu Fian's sake, but also for his own sake. Once the young master of the Zhong clan of Taidi, Zhongyu, gets rid of Linghu Yundi and comes back, fearing the background behind his young master and Deputy Army Master Hu, perhaps he will not kill his master and Deputy Army Master Hu, but he will not have any concerns. Tan Xiateng's suggestion was adopted by Hu Fian. Seeing this, Duan Lingtian naturally didn't have any comments, and it took a little more time at most to make a detour. After a while, an artifact spacecraft did not move forward, but detoured to the side. Behind the divine artifact spacecraft, Duan Lingtian and Hu Fian didn't even notice it. A sloppy middle-aged man was following their divine artifact spacecraft far away. The other side. Miss Linghu, why do you give Hu Fian face like that? Nyan Tianjun, in front of your Tianmin Linghu family, I am afraid that it is nothing at all, right? Long Jing looked at Linghu Yundi who was not far away, and asked in confusion. As far as he knows, there are no less than 3 strongest people in the Tianmin Linghu family, from the half-step ancestor of the world, and the strength is not weaker than that of the Nyan army master Hu Bugui. In front of the Tianmin Linghu family, the Nyan heavenly army was nothing at all. Didn't I just talk about it? My parents have an old relationship with the leader of the Nyan heavenly army. Linghu Yundi spoke lightly, with a little impatience in his tone, so that the curious Long Jing did not continue to ask, because he knew that it would be boring to continue to ask. Zhongyu. At the same time, Long Jing Chuanin said to Zhongyu, "After we are separated from Linghu Yundi, I will accompany you one more time, catch up with the three people, and avenge your younger brother. Even if you can't kill Hu Fian, you can't let that young man continue to live. After all, it was the young man's man who killed your junior. Of course, before you set off, I suggest that you'd better send a message back to the Zhong clan and find some helpers to accompany you. At least we should be close to the invincible high-ranking gods." That young man, judging from Hu Fian's politeness to him, the strength is probably not below Hu Fian. As far as the two of us are concerned, I'm afraid we may not be able to win them. Hearing Long Jing's voice transmission, Zhong Yu's expression remained unchanged. His eyes were not waved at Gu Jing, and the voice transmission faintly replied, "I have this intention too." In the next moment, deep in Zhong Yu's gaze, the cold spread, and the killing intent was awe-inspiring. End of this chapter. Chapter 4472. They should also have thought that you might come back with a carbine, Lung Jing Chuanin said with concern. You said, after we left, would they choose to take a detour? Depending on their previous whereabouts, it should be the location of the Wind Holy Realm, one of the three holy realms. If we go to the Feng Sacred Realm and take a long journey from here, it will be difficult for us to chase them. When he heard Long Jing's concerns, Zhongyu smiled indifferently. You don't have to worry about this. Didn't you find that the guy who was behind us is nowhere to be seen? As soon as Zhongyu's voice fell, Long Jing couldn't help but glance back. A look of surprise flashed in his eyes. Did you let him follow them? At this time, Long Jing was relieved. The other party can't run. Should you not be discovered? Although rest assured, Long Jing couldn't help asking more. Rest assured, Zhongyu said confidently. That guy, what he is good at is the laws of the Earth system. Last time, he witnessed my junior and his younger brother fighting with them, and they didn't find his trace, and it is impossible to find it this time. He is a talent in this field specially selected by my junior brother. In addition, I also promised him, this time, as long as we do well, I will take him back to Zhong's family and let him become a child of Zhong's family. Hearing Zhong Yu's words, Long Jing no longer doubted. The Divine Weapon spacecraft, detour forward. For Duan Lingtian and Hu Fian, this was nothing. It was nothing more than spending 10.5 days to travel to the Holy Land of Wind. Not to mention 10.5 months, even if it is a few months in a year, it is nothing to them. Inside the Divine Weapon spacecraft, Duan Lingtian and Hu Fian closed their eyes and practiced. However, Tan Xiaoding was driving the Divine Weapon spacecraft all the way, walking in one direction at first, but when he got to the back, he forgave multiple directions many times. This scene also caused the sloppy middle-aged man who was behind the Divine Weapon spacecraft to cry again and again, "Damn. The man who controls the spacecraft, it should be the guy who killed the leader in the past, right? You've all gone around, and why are you changing directions?" Although his hidden skills are good, he still relies more on the laws of the Earth system he is good at, and if he appears repeatedly, he will be easily spotted. Although it was not difficult to keep up with the other party, it also made him spend a lot of effort and turned his head back. Fortunately, I stepped into the realm of high-ranking gods a few years ago. Otherwise, I'm really not sure to keep up. The sloppy middle-aged rejoiced in his heart. And all of this, Tan Xiaoding, who was driving the magical spacecraft, didn't know. In the next way, although deliberately detoured, he still encountered several waves of bandits, all of which were shot by Tan Xiaoding, killing them one by one and repelling them. Tan Xiaoding did not pursue the opponent who was repulsed, for fear that too much movement would attract the threat from the Taidizhong clan. The Taidizhong clan is very famous in Pingxiang. Although not as good as the Tianmin Linghu family, it is second only to the top powers in the Pingxiang realm like the Tianmin Linghu family. Zhongyu, the young patriarch of the Zhong clan, when he left, he was obviously full of unwillingness. I'm afraid, as long as he is separated from that Miss Murong, he will find someone to chase us. Tan Xiaoding knows this very well. If the members of the Zhong clan catch up, Deputy Army Chief Hu and Young Master will definitely have the means to protect their lives. Coupled with the deterrence of their background, The Zhong clan may not be able to kill them all. And by then, it will be difficult to survive. When the time comes, even if the young master and deputy army chief who intend to protect me, they are afraid that they will be powerless. It was precisely because he knew this that Tan Shouting drove the magical spacecraft on his way, so he changed directions frequently and did not detour in one direction. Even the divine weapon spacecraft he is currently driving is farther and farther away from that wind holy realm. Otherwise, you don't want to go to Fengsheng realm at all? Go over here and take another step. It won't take long. The distance from the Wind Saint realm is no closer than the distance from the Thunder Saint realm. Despite such thoughts, Tan Shouting still did not make the decision by himself. After taking a glance at Duan Lingtian and Hu Fian, who were still cultivating with their eyes closed, Tan Shouting finally made a decision. He went to the area bordering the Wind Holy Realm and Thunder Holy Realm. When the young master and deputy army master who woke up, wait for them to decide whether to go to the Wind Holy Realm or the Thunder Holy Realm. Tan Shouting secretly said, "That's all. Go all the way." The bandits encountered along the way were all repelled and killed by Tan Shouting. In the end, Tan Xiateng's vigilance even relaxed a little. 10 days have passed. The Taidizhong clan hasn't come yet. It should be impossible to keep up, right? Now they are most likely to be in the direction we were walking in before, and they want to stop us halfway. We make a detour. They can only stare. Thinking of this, Tan Shouting couldn't help feeling a little happy. However, Tan Xiateng's joy did not last long. 5 days later, there were more than a dozen silhouettes blocking the way. Tan Shouting, who thought he was just an ordinary gangster, approached and saw the appearance of the two leading men. He was shocked. The sharply contracted pupils were also full, amazed and incredible. How is this possible? How did they keep up? Could it be that something was done on me? It's not right. If he wants to do anything on me, Master Hu and Deputy Army Chief Hu cannot be ignorant at all. At this moment, the two-headed people who appeared in Tan Xiateng's eyes were none other than the young patriarch of the Taidizhong clan, Zhongyu, and the genius direct descendant of the Bingdi Long clan, Lung Jing. Zhongyu and Lung Jing stood side by side. Behind them stood a middle-aged and 2 old people. Behind them, there were 10 middle-aged and young men in black costumes. Young Master, Deputy Army Master Hu. The scene before him frightened Tan Shouting for a while, and when he recovered, he hurriedly woke up Duan Lingtian and Hu Fian. The situation in front of him is no longer something he can control and solve. He didn't even need to probe, he could guess. The 3 people standing in the second row behind Zhongyu and Long Jing are all close to the invincible high-ranking gods. As for the 10 people standing in the third row, none of them is weaker than him. How can he control and solve this situation? Maybe they just got out of the artifact spacecraft. They were killed directly by the opponent. Have you reached the Holy Land of Wind? Hu Fian, who was awakened, frowned slightly, glanced at Tan Shouting, and asked subconsciously. But Duan Lingtian was not at a loss for Hu Fian. After he was awakened, his eyes fell on the mirror image of the front view on the side of the artifact spacecraft for the first time. The Zhongyu of the Zhong clan and the Lung Jing of the Lung clan. It's making a comeback. This time, looking at their posture, they should have come prepared. The Miss Linghu is no longer by their side. I want to come. After they separated from the Miss Linghu, they summoned men and horses to chase him up. Speaking of this, Duan Lingtian looked at Tan Shouting again. He is weird. Tan Shouting obviously decided to make a detour. Why would he be caught up by the other party? And Tan Shouting, at this time, also saw the meaning in the eyes of his young master, and suddenly said with a wry smile, "Master, I have been cautious enough. I changed directions more than 100 times on this journey, but I didn't expect to be caught up." Tan Shouting at this time was actually more fearful than anyone else. The bitter smile on his face is more of a strong smile. End of this chapter. Please remember the domain name of this book's first publication, _WAP. Chapter 4473. Tan Shouting knew very well. Today, the 3 of them are caught up, and there is a high probability that it will be difficult to escape. Unless his young master, or Hu Fian, the deputy commander of Yantian army, is willing to take out the trump card given by the strongest, and force the group of people in front of him and then take him away. It's just that the cards given by the strongest are basically life-saving means. When these people are only targeting themselves, would his young master and deputy military leader really want to use it for him? It's not that he feels that his young master and deputy army master who are not righteous, but even if he is standing in the position of two people, it is impossible to use such means to shelter a less important person. Tan Xiaodong still knows his own position in the eyes of the two around him. Moreover, he also felt that not long ago, his young master was willing to protect him in such a situation. He had done his best to do his best. Even if he gave up on him this time, he could hardly complain. It seems that we have been tracked all the way to this point. Hu Fian narrowed his eyes, and a cold light flashed between his eyes. This Zhongyu, and that Long Jing. I think that Miss Linghu is not easy to provoke, so I can't provoke it? Although Hu Fian has a good impression of Linghu Yundi, it does not mean that others can look down on Gao Linghu Yundi while at the same time. And she also feels that she is not inferior to Linghu Yundi. Although Linghu Yundi's strength is beyond her reach, her age is at least a few thousand years younger than Linghu Yundi. She didn't think that after thousands of years, she would still be inferior to Linghu Yundi now. Being a strong female is indispensable for comparison. Now, seeing Zhong Yu and Long Jun making a comeback, Hu Fian was completely angry. As for Duan Lingtian, he had already stood up. His gaze toward the front became colder, and he was also muttering something. At this moment, only Duan Lingtian himself can know what he is whispering. While whispering, Duan Lingshan's eyes were sharply bright, as if the hunter had finally found his favorite prey after searching for many days. Young master, vice army chief who, if there is really no way, you, please hand me over. Tan Xiaodong sighed and said, presumably, as long as you hand me over, they won't do anything to you again. At this moment, Tan Xiaodong was not trying to retreat, but really felt that there was no need to conflict with those in front of him, as long as he pushed himself out to solve the problem. Thinking about it, it is impossible for the other party to really tear his face with his young master and Hu Fian, the deputy commander of the Yintian army. However, neither Hu Fian nor Duan Lingtian ignored Tan Xiaodong. Since everyone is here, let's go out and meet them. Before Duan Lingtian spoke indifferently, Feng Su Yufeng had already walked out of the whole person, and in a blink of an eye he flew out of the Divine Weapon spaceship, came to the front of the Divine Weapon spacecraft, and confronted a dozen people blocking the road. And Hu Fian followed out afterwards. Tan Xiaodong, even though he was reluctant to come out in his heart, he knew that no matter if he couldn't come out, the ending would be the same, so he still followed. At this time, even though he was still alive, he believed in his heart that he was dead this time, desperate to the extreme, and his thoughts were ashamed. Zhongyu, what do you mean? Hu Fian and Duan Lingtian stood side by side, with beautiful eyes. But at this moment Dawson's cold light burst out. Before, didn't you leave happily? Why? Miss Linghu is not by your side, so you think him Hu Fian to deceive? Hu Fian was really angry at this time. This Zhongyu obviously didn't put her in his eyes. Faced with Hu Fian, who was so angry like a tigress, Zhongyu hadn't spoken yet, but Long Jing on the side was the first to speak. Deputy Army Master Hu, you are the deputy commander of the Yintian Army, the Yintian Army military doctrine. Who dares to deceive? You? We are here only to kill junior brother Zhongyu. As for you and this friend by your side, we will never hurt you a bit. Long Jing's tone was very gentle, revealing friendliness. Humph. Hu Fian snorted coldly. Today, as long as Hu Fian is here, don't you want to move him? When the words fell, Hu Fian's body, the power of the magical power, was already turbulent, and even the robes on his body were blown by the strong wind and hunted. At this moment, her pair of eyes burst into a strong fighting spirit. Zhongyu, how about today's matter? You and I will solve it in one battle. Hu Fian spoke again. His tone was soothing and ear-splitting. As long as you are within 100 moves, let me fall into the wind. People, I will no longer shelter. If you can't do it, how about you take your people and retreat? As soon as Hu Fian spoke, he stated that he was going to fight Zhongyu, using her fight with Zhongyu to understand what was at hand. In fact, as early as when he saw Zhongyu and learned Zhongyu's identity, Hu Fian became wary and wanted to fight the opponent. However, because of Ling Hu Yundi's intervention, her wish could not be fulfilled. She still has a certain understanding of Zhongyu, thinking that she is definitely not weaker than the other party. Within 100 moves, the other party will never let her fall into the wrong place. Tan Xiaoding, who originally thought he was going to die, heard Hu Fian's words, and a ray of hope suddenly appeared in his eyes. At the same time, he looked at Hu Fian with a little more gratefulness. Although Hu Fian mentioned the gambling appointment, she may not be able to win. But at least there is hope. And Duan Lingtian, when he heard Hu Fian's words, still had a calm face and could not see any emotions. In fact, he did not have any emotions either. Tan Xiaoding, during the performance of the Sky Blood Oath, is his person and has nothing to do with Hu Fian. Hu Fian's willingness to protect Tan Xiaoding is a passion, but his unwillingness to keep it is his duty. He respects Hu Fian's choice and will not do this. Dissatisfied. Therefore, when Hu Fian said this, he didn't think there was anything wrong with it. He will protect his people. Laugh. Zhongyu, who had been preempted by Lung Jing to speak before, could not help but laugh after hearing what Hu Fian said. Hu Fian, give face to Hus Army Master, call you Lieutenant Commander Hu, you are really real I thought. This is Yintian Army, Hu Fian sight? The current situation. But I am strong and you are weak. Why do I promise you such a self-assertive condition? When the voice fell, Zhongyu raised his hand and waved forward. Lung Jing, you and the elder Zhongming and the three of them stopped them, and the black magic guards dispersed and disturbed the surrounding space and prevented them from teleporting. I personally sent this guy who killed my junior brother on the road. At the same time as the words fell, Zhongyu's eyes full of killing intent also instantly shifted to Tan Xiaoding, who was standing behind Duan Lingtian and Hu Fian. Chapter 44-74. Zhongyu opened his mouth, bluntly and ordered, as if he had already figured out how to deal with the three of Duan Lingtian. He chose to contain Hu Fian. Because Hu Fian has a good background, I really want to push Hu Fian. Hu Fian can take out her adoptive father, as the most powerful Yintian army leader who does not return to the life-saving means, then he will not be able to save Hu Fian. There is a high probability that you will also use the life-saving means given by your ancestors. He wouldn't do something that is not worth the loss. Moreover, he also concluded, as long as Hu Fian is not attacked, it is impossible for Hu Fian to use the life-saving means given by her adoptive father for the sake of a subordinate. As for the young man next to Hu Fian, who was also the one who killed his junior and chased after him, so that Hu Fian could treat each other like that, there is a high probability that he was also a distinguished person with a good background. This kind of person has a high probability of having life-saving means given by the strongest. Plus, Hu Fian might protect him. Therefore, he does not intend to move this young man. As for the person who killed his junior and his younger brother, he doesn't care. Even if you have a good background, there are strong people behind you. But these, I have Zhongyu too. It's normal for your servant to kill my junior and kill someone for his life, right? If you want me to persuade me, it's not impossible. As long as the strongest behind you is stronger than the one behind me, I will swallow that breath and dare not raise revenge anymore. If it is not stronger than the one behind me, then you can only surrender his life. As the young patriarch of the Zhong clan in Taidi, Zhongyu also has his own pride and cannot easily bow his head. Earlier, Ling Hu Yundi threatened to protect others. He was not as strong as Ling Hu Yundi, and his background was not as strong as Ling Hu Yundi's background, so he gave in front of Ling Hu Yundi. Hu Fian is not enough to make him give in. As for the youth around Hu Fian, he still doesn't know the origin, and his background may not be stronger than his. Why did he give in? If you want me to back down, just show your background over my tidy Zhong clan. Do it. Following Zhong Yu's cold cry, Long Jing beside him, as well as the three powerful members of the Zhong clan behind him who were close to the invincible upper gods, set out one after another to kill Duan Lingtian and Hu Fian. The other 10 black dark guards in the mouth of Zhongyu, who were slightly weaker, spread out and crossed each other, making all their moves, disturbing the surrounding space. Obviously, Zhongyu knew that Hu Fian was good at the laws of space. He didn't want Hu Fian to take people away. After practicing the law of space to the realm of small perfection, it is enough to take people to teleport. Although only one person can be taken away, He is worried that the other person is taking away the person he wants to kill. In addition, the young man whose temperament is obviously insufficient, and whose background is most likely not under Hu Fian, he may not be able to kill, nor may he dare to kill. Enter my space artifact. Seeing the four powerhouses coming together, Zhong Yu's eyes locked on Tan Xiaoting. When Tan Xiaotang's face was desperate and all his thoughts were grayed out, a sound like a natural sound came into his ears again. Master! Tan Xiaotang's heart was shocked, and he never thought that at this time, this young master actually planned to protect him. You know, the current situation is not optimistic. The opponent's strength obviously has to surpass his own side. It's okay if oneself can have the upper hand, but if it can't, in the end, you can only use the means given by the strongest and even call out the projection of the strongest deity. However, his own side has this method. As the young patriarch Zhong Yu of the Tailing Zhong clan in the Pingxiong realm, will he? Moreover, beside Zhong Yu, there was a Lungjing from the Frozen clan. Calm. Although not the young patriarch of the Long clan, he is also a peerless genius of the Long clan, the strongest of the Long clan, and he definitely has the means to save his life, including the projection of the deity. At the end, if both sides call out the projection of the Xion's deity, then it is a confrontation at the Xion's level. At that time, it's up to the Xion who has the harder fist. Even if the two sides are evenly matched, he Tan Xiaoting will die out of 10. If you don't want to die, you can only hope that the Xion on your side will be stronger. Hurry up, Duan Lingtian said impatiently, urging Tan Xiaoting to enter the space artifact he took out. Once the battle started, he would not be able to take care of Tan Xiaoting. Hu Fian on the side was also a little surprised to see Duan Lingtian doing this. Obviously, he didn't expect him to make such a choice. In this case, we must protect Tan Xiaoting. Could it be that he is so confident about the strong man behind him? In Hu Fian's eyes, the situation in front of him was just like what Tan Xiaoting saw. In the end, it must be a confrontation between the strongest. Hu Fian didn't think that he and this young man named Li Feng could contend with the existence of 5 high-ranking gods, including Zhong Yu and Long Jing, who were close to invincible in strength. Even with Zhong Yu alone, she was not completely sure to gain the upper hand. Good, very good. And Zhong Yu obviously did not expect the young people around Hu Fian to do this. I want to see who is the strongest behind you. Regardless of whether it is a place outside the world or the world, the strongest people are not unknown generations, because the rise of a strong person requires many opportunities. And many opportunities need to be contended. The same is true for the strongest. The Xions are superior in their eyes, and they are even more mysterious and unpredictable in the eyes of most people, but in fact, the Xions are essentially no different from them. The strongest are also pursuing continuous improvement. The strongest people are all the existences that rely on their own strength to break out of the siege, such as the strongest of their Tailing Zhong clan, whose reputation is so great that they spread all over the world, even thousands of people. Boundary. And that day, the half-step world veteran of the Linghu family, don't have to say more. Half-step Jiezun is the most powerful existence under Jiezun strong. Jiezun cannot come out. Half-step Jiezun is the respect. I hope you don't regret it. Zhong Yu shouted angrily, and then set off, and Long Jing joined forces to kill Duan Lingtian and Hu Fian. At the same time, he coldly shouted, Hu Fian, your friend is crazy. I persuade you. It is better to don't drip this muddy water. But Hu Fian smiled faintly in the face of the furious Zhong Yu. Zhong Yu, you also said, this is my friend. My friend, how can I, Hu Fian, stand by and watch? As the words fell, Hu Fian's divine power shook, and the power of the law of space surged, causing ripples in the surrounding space. Although the pressure in front of her was great, it was not enough to make her afraid. After all, her whole card is not limited to her own strength. End of this chapter. Please remember the domain name of this book's first publication, _WAP. Chapter 4475. Hu Fian is still very confident about the means of life-saving in his own hands. Don't say that you have not entered the 3 holy realms now. You have entered the 3 holy realms, unless the semi-holy level of the strongest wants to deal with her. Otherwise, it is basically impossible to really kill her. Half-holy, that is, half-step saint, is also another kind of name for the half-step Jezun from outside the world. Those who are strong in the world correspond to the saints. Half-step Jezun is a half-step saint, referred to as half-saint. As long as the half-holy can't come out, Hu Fian is confident that in a place outside the world, as long as she doesn't enter the secret realm that restricts her from using the life-saving means given by her adoptive father, no one should be able to threaten her life. It seems that he is very confident of the strongest behind him. Is he semi-sage? It can't be a saint, right? Hu Fian glanced at the young man not far away and secretly speculated in her heart. In her opinion, the other party had to protect Tan Xiaodong in this situation, indicating that he was not afraid of the strongest person he would face next. Clash. He must have confidence in the strongest behind him. You deal with that, Zhongyu, and the other four will leave it to me. And just as Hu Fian was thinking about it, Duan Lingshan's voice was already echoing in her ears, shocking her heart. What this guy means, he wants to deal with one enemy and four. Four of Longjing? Although she didn't know the three people brought by Zhongyu and Longjing, she also saw from the laws and strength that they showed when they left, that their strength was close to the existence of the invincible high-ranking gods. Perhaps she is slightly inferior to her, but it is difficult for any one person to fight alone. She wants to defeat. If the other two join forces, she can only barely contend. When the three of them join together, she will lose. Moreover, it was defeated in a short time. But now, this Li Feng, is he crazy? This is the only thought left in Hu Fian's mind at this moment, because in her opinion, with Li Feng's strength, facing Longjing and other four close to invincible high-ranking existences alone is tantamount to being a man with a man's arm. He really thought he was Linghu Yundi? If it was Linghu Yundi, who was known as the Invincible under the Invincible Upper of the Pingxiong realm, could deal with these four people, she would still believe. But at most there would be no fear of four people, and it would be almost impossible to defeat them. They are all beings close to the invincible high-ranking gods. Even if Linghu Yundi's strength is top, in fact, it is also limited, and it is possible to defeat the two of Longjing and other four together. Wanting to beat the three of them together is no different from a delusion. As for the four, it is even more so without even thinking about it. He really wants one person to fight four people? Just when Hu Fian felt that Duan Lingtian was crazy and a little stunned, she saw that Duan Lingtian had moved and directly slaughtered the four of Longjing and attacked. At this moment, the young man wearing a purple suit seemed to have turned into a sharp sword out of its sheath, blasting out in a whistling manner. He should be planning to face the four by one person, and at the same time call out the projection of the strongest person behind him, Hu Fian secretly said in his heart. However, thinking about it this way, Hu Fian did not express any opinions on Duan Lingshan's arrangements, and even rushed out when Duan Lingtian set out. In Hu Fian's hands, a compass-shaped weapon appeared, which was her most powerful artifact. This supreme artifact was specially made for her by her adoptive father. It is very suitable for her, and it is also very helpful for her to improve her strength. When this Xeon artifact first arrived in her hand, she used it to drive it like an arm, and she didn't need to waste time to run in like other people's Xeon artifacts. For example, the seven-orifice Linglong sword in Duan Lingshan's hand was also because he had followed him in the past, and it had long been run in. Therefore, even if it was transformed into a Xeon artifact through multiple Xeon artifact embryos, it was no stranger to Duan Lingtian. And ordinary people, given the Xeon artifact by the Xeon, it takes a long time to run in, and during the run-in period, they can't exert all the power of the Xeon artifact. Zhongyu, I've heard of you, the young patriarch of the Zhong clan entailing, and let me see your methods today. After Hu Fian shouted arrogantly, he killed Zhongyu. And Zhongyu, in the face of the menacing Hu Fian, did not dare to be careless. After all, the name of the shadow man of the tree, Hu Fian, the deputy commander of the Yintian army, he had also heard of it. It was Hu Bu, the commander of the Yintian army. The returned loved daughter, at a young age, already has the strength close to the invincible high-ranking god. Although there are few strong females, as long as they appear, they are usually amazing and brilliant. For example, Linghu Yundi from the Linghu family that day was one of the strongest. Previously, it was because Linghu Yundi was on Hu Fian's side. So even though he was full of anger and unwillingness, he still gave up and left until he separated from Linghu Yundi, and then made a comeback. Of course, the fear of Linghu Yundi is not only because of Linghu Yundi's strength, but also because of Linghu Yundi's background, the Tianmin Linghu family. Hu Fian. Zhongyu screamed. His divine power bloomed, and the law unfolded, and then the whole person swelled and turned into a giant, surrounded by blood and energy, and rushed towards Hu Fian. Obviously, as soon as Zhongyu made a move, he used the power of his blood. The Tai Ling Zhong clan, the power of the direct bloodline, is the incarnation of Titan giants, and they collide. It is said that seeing the mountains push the mountains, the water collapses, and the power is unstoppable. Humph! Hu Fian snorted coldly. Seeing Zhongyu taking him so seriously, he also used his own blood. Originally, she still wanted to pay attention to Li Feng's side. If she asked her to help, she would also give a helping hand in time. But now it seems that she has no time to be distracted. Zhongyu, who went all out, made her also have to go all out. Moreover, she could almost conclude that Zhongyu was deliberate. Zhongyu just didn't want to let himself give Li Feng a helping hand. Hu Fian's guess is indeed correct. As soon as Zhongyu shot, he tried his best to provide Long Jing and the Four with an opportunity to quickly take down the young man at the first time, or to force the young man to call out the projection of the strongest person behind him. Only then will they be able to confirm whether the other party can provoke. And once the opponent summons the projection of the deity of the strongest, they will also summon it here, and then it will be a battle between the strongest. And if the Xian that the opponent summons is not as strong as the Xians behind their Zhong and Long families, they may not need to waste the opportunity to call out the Xian's deity to be able to let the opponent hand over the person honestly. As the strong side, they can't take the initiative to call out the projection of the strongest deity. Because the projection of the deity of the Xian cannot be called out at any time, it is necessary to use the projection jade slip of the deity given by the corresponding strong one, and that jade slip, even the strong one, has to spend a lot of energy. Can be produced, not many. Call out. The colorful sword beams spread across the world. Duan Lingtian made a move, and the laws of space were integrated. At the same time, the light in his eyes became stronger and stronger. These people, it's a coincidence. As soon as I broke through the law of space, they all sent them to my door to practice hand skills. That's right. Duan Lingshan's space law, half a month ago, smoothly stepped into the realm of small perfection. At this point, Duan Lingtian finally has a rule, stepping into the realm of small perfection. You must know that the power of the law has stepped into the realm of small perfection, which is undoubtedly an exaggerated qualitative change for the power of the law and for those who master the law. Before the breakthrough of the law of space, Duan Lingtian had the strength close to the invincible high-ranking god. Now that the law of space has broken through, perhaps Duan Lingshan's current strength is not yet at the level of the invincible high-ranking god, but it is probably stronger than 99% of the existence close to the invincible high-ranking god. Even if it was the existence of the Linghu Yundi who was known as the first person under the invincible high-ranking of the Pingxiong realm, Duan Lingtian now encountered her and dared to fight. And I don't feel that I am weaker than her. End of this chapter. Chapter 4476. After the space law broke through to the realm of small perfection, Duan Lingtian could clearly feel the transformation of his own strength, and it was the transformation of qualitative change. At that moment, he even had a strong feeling. After the breakthrough, it is easy to defeat him before the breakthrough. Although, perhaps there is still some distance away from that invincible high-ranking god, it is undoubtedly much stronger than the existence of the general close to the invincible high-ranking god. After the breakthrough at that time, he felt his own strength. The first thing he thought of was the existence of Linghu Yundi, the first person under the invincible high-ranking of the Pingxiong realm, who he had encountered not long ago. The daughter of the Tianmin Linghu family. On that day, although he didn't do anything with the opponent stood there, but it gave him a strong sense of oppression and made him feel the distance between him and the opponent. But now that he has broken through, He has the confidence and feels that he will never feel that way again when he meets the opponent again. Unexpectedly, before encountering Linghu Yundi, Zhongyu, the young patriarch of the Zhong clan of Tailing, brought people back, and the 5 close to invincible high-ranking gods all came out, wanting him and Hu Fian to hand over Tan Shoteng. Obviously, the opponent is determined, and they will not easily use the life-saving means given by the strongest for Tan Shoteng. In fact, even if Duan Lingtian wants to protect Tan Shoteng, if he really wants him to use the life-saving means given by the strongest, he also needs to think about it. After all, the life-saving means given by the Xian should be used once less once. And in his hands, the life-saving means given by the strongest was only the spiritual essence and blood given by the heavenly sword Situ Lei. Apart from that, there was no other means that the strongest gave. Ask him to use up the spirit accumulation essence and blood given by Situ Lei for the sake of Tan Shoteng. He asked himself, there is a high probability that he would not use it. To protect Tan Shoteng, he must protect him, but he can do what he can at best. This time, I can only say that Tan Shoteng is lucky, while Duan Lingtian secretly said, facing the menacing 4 of Long Jing, his complexion was calm and calm. Long Jing is a genius child of the Bingdi Long clan. He is good at the laws of the ice system, comprehending the laws of the ice system to the realm of small perfection, and is not the kind of initial understanding, and has a deep knowledge of the laws of the ice system. As soon as he shot, the surrounding air was icy, giving people the feeling of falling into an ice cellar. The vision of the law spread out, and the shrouded place seemed to have turned into a world of ice and snow, with snow falling and air conditioning scattered, and Long Jing was the creator of this ice and snow world. The strongest artifact in Long Jing's hand is also a sword that looks crystal clear, like a sword forged from ice. The sword is sharp, with the air of icy coldness and the void in the past. The space crack just appeared. It solidified in an instant, obviously frozen by the icy air bursting out of it. The other 3 who shot with Long Jing, as the existence of the Tailing Zhong clan close to the invincible high-ranking gods, naturally also have the most powerful artifacts in their hands. In addition, the laws they are good at have also realized the realm of small perfection. After all, not everyone is a monster like Duan Lingtian. Without the power of the law to reach the level of perfection, with the amazing swordsmanship, he has the strength close to the invincible high-ranking god. In the past, Duan Lingshan's strength was comparable to that of any of the existence of these few invincible high-ranking gods. At that time, his laws of space had not yet entered the realm of small perfection. And now, with the breakthrough of the law of space, his strength has been further transformed, which can be called the transformation of qualitative change. Call out. Duan Lingtian swept out with a sword, and the colorful glow of the clouds completely robbed the limelight of the ice and snow world that had been affected by the power of Lungjing, making this world colorful. Moreover, Duan Lingshan's sword made the space constantly tremble, and a terrible storm of power swept through it. It was just a confrontation that resisted the joint efforts of the 4 Longjing. Boom! Rumble. In a brief confrontation, Duan Lingshan's strength and the strength of Longjing's 4 collided. The terrible force collided, causing the void to burst, and a huge black hole in space appeared. Then the space vortex appeared, and it was easy to get away from the surroundings. The flowers and soil on the ground were all rolled in. In addition, the aftermath of power dispersed, turning a large area around it into ruins, devastated everywhere. How is this possible? Long Jing's shocked voice suddenly resounded in the silence after the burst of power, his tone of panic, shock, and incredible in his voice. Invincible high-ranking god? Immediately afterwards, another trembling voice rang out in an exclamation, and it was one of the 3 old people who shot with calmly and screamed. At the same time, Zhongyu and Hu Fian, who had been fighting each other evenly, were shocked by the collision of forces just now, and they did not continue to fight. When they looked at where the sound was coming from, saw the ruins and devastation in front of them, and the spatial vortex floating in the void for a long time, they also showed awe and incredible expressions. Immediately afterwards, they could see that Long Jing's 4 had retreated far away. Judging from their current state, it could be seen that they all looked a little embarrassed. On the other side, Duan Lingtian didn't seem to be much better, but it was just like this that shocked them inexplicably. The law of space in the realm of small perfection? At the same time, Hu Fian, who is also good at space laws, watched Duan Lingtian suddenly exclaimed, Your space laws broke through? At this moment, Hu Fian's tone seemed to be filled with trembling and amazement. She knew Duan Lingshan's strength, because, in the past, she and Duan Lingtian had a battle, and the two were evenly matched. However, in that evenly matched competition, Duan Lingshan's space law was far behind her space law, and she had not yet stepped into the realm of small perfection. Duan Lingtian relied solely on the astonishing and terrifying Kendo to draw a tie with her. This Li Feng broke through the law of space? Hu Fian's heart was also trembling violently at this time. With his attainments in Kendo, the law of space has broken through to the realm of small perfection. His hands are probably not weaker than that of Linghu Yundi, right? At this moment, it was Hu Fian who couldn't help but think of Linghu Yundi. At the same time, looking at the scene where Duan Lingtian and Long Jing were clearly evenly matched after the battle, she also further confirmed her guess. This Li Feng, if the sword is further advanced, I am afraid it can be compared with the invincible high-ranking god. The law of space reaches the state of small perfection even if it goes further. If it is not the state of great perfection, the improvement is limited, and it is not enough to produce qualitative change. Only with a big breakthrough in Kendo can the opponent have the strength comparable to the invincible high-ranking before the law of space has broken through to the realm of Dzogchen. Hu Fian knew this very well, because her space law has already entered the realm of small perfection, and now the reason why her strength can reach the point of being close to the invincible high-ranking deity is entirely based on his control. It was Zhongyu who had just fought with her. Although the law he was good at had also broken through to the realm of small perfection, what allowed him to possess the strength close to the invincible high-ranking gods was also one of the 4 ways of weapons he mastered. Chapter 44:77. He is not an invincible high-ranking god. The other old man who shot with Long Jing just now has sharp eyes, staring at Duan Lingtian like a goshawk staring at its prey. His eyes are full of fear. His space law is just the space law of the small perfect state. The reason why his strength can reach this level is entirely because of the swordsmanship he masters against the sky. His current strength, I am afraid it is not weaker than Miss Linghu Yundi from the Linghu family that day. The old man comes from the Zhong clan of Tailing, and is the elder of the Zhong clan of Tailing. This time he left the clan and rushed over after receiving Zhongyu's information. He was to help his young patriarch and kill the young patriarch who wanted to kill him. People. On the way, he also heard from the young patriarch, why didn't he attack the opponent before? It's entirely because Linghu Yundi intervened. In this regard, he can also understand the feelings of the young patriarch of his own family. The eldest lady of the Tianmin Linghu family sheltered each other. Even if the young patriarch of his family and Long Jing joined forces, he would not get any benefit and would also offend him because of this. Hu Yundi. Offending Linghu Yundi is not much different from offending Linghu family. It was precisely because he had heard of Linghu Yundi before. At this moment, he would take out Linghu Yundi, who was recognized as the first person under the invincible upper deity in Pingxiong territory, to compare with the person in front of him. Not weaker than Linghu Yundi? Standing in the distance, Zhong Yu's expression was extremely ugly. At the same time, he stared at Duan Lingtian from a distance and asked in a deep voice, Your Excellency, dare you to ask where are you from? Perhaps the forces behind you have an old relationship with my Tailing Zhong clan. After Zhong Yu said that, his tone was obviously more polite, but as long as he was a normal person, he could hear the unwillingness and anger behind his suppressed tone. However, facing Zhong Yu's inquiry, Duan Lingtian just glanced at him lightly, then looked away, obviously not planning to respond to him. Seeing this, Zhong Yu was immediately flushed with anger. Think of him as the young patriarch of the Zhong clan of Tai Ling. When has he been so ignored? If it weren't for the background behind the opponent, he would have exploded long ago. I don't believe his strength can be compared to Ling Hu Yundi. When Zhongyu was so angry that his expression was ugly, Long Jing's indifferent words followed. 3. We just underestimated him and were careless. Next, the four of us will try our best, but I want to see if he can resist it. If it can be blocked, it means that his strength is indeed not weaker than Ling Hu Yundi. At the same time as Long Jing's voice fell, the eyes of the three people around him did not count, and they all fell on Zhongyu. They are members of the Zhong clan of Tailing. This time they were also called by the young patriarch of their own family. What they should do next naturally depends on what the young patriarch meant. Although Long Jing has a good relationship with their young patriarch, it is not enough to give orders to them. After seeing Zhongyu's gloomy nodding, the three of them immediately agreed to Zhongyu, and then they rushed out again with Zhongyu. 5 terrifying blood swept up, shooting the world. Obviously, the four of them shot again, just as Long Jing said, using their best and no more reservations. The 4 figures carry 4 terrifying powers, as if the sky and the earth are straddling the ages, and the overlapping powers permeated the void, causing the void to burst and collapse. The 4 people, like gods descending, are majestic and majestic. At this moment, they obscured the sky, as if incarnate into the sky, and wanted to suppress everything. Boom! Rumble! Wow! Wow! The terrible power was turbulent, and the surging heaven and earth visions spread out. If it weren't for a very distant place, the movement in front of it was enough to attract many people to come and watch. Of course, no one is inhabited, not really uninhabited. There must be people. Now, they must also have noticed the movement here, but because their strength is too weak, they dare not approach at all, for fear that they will be affected by Chiyu. Oh my God! What kind of powerhouse is fighting against? It's so earth-shattering. Thousands of miles away, a figure that was originally running paused. Looking at the center of the burst of power, his eyes were full of horror. This movement, at least the upper gods, right? I'm afraid it's not an ordinary high-ranking god. In the other direction, 8,000 miles away, a sturdy figure stood on the top of the mountain, watching the distance from afar. His eyes were full of shock. Some time ago, I also stepped into the realm of a high-ranking god, but in front of this opponent, I'm afraid I can't stop even one move, right? Is the invincible high-ranking god? Even if it's not, I'm afraid it's a strong man close to the invincible high-ranking god. The center of the battlefield. Long Jing did not believe that Duan Lingtian was not weaker than Ling Hu Yun's strength, and once again joined forces with the 3 powers close to the invincible high-ranking gods to attack Duan Lingtian. This time, the 4 of them no longer kept their hands, and all took out the means of pressing the bottom of the box. Not far away, both Zhongyu and Hu Fian did not fight each other tacitly. One is because she has already tested out Zhongyu's strength, which is comparable to her. No one is better than anyone, and no one is weaker than anyone. Second, now she wants to see the real means after the breakthrough of Duan Lingshan's space law. This Li Feng also has the law clone. After the space law breaks through, his space law clone must be stronger. Hu Fian secretly said. She still knows some of Duan Lingshan's whole cards. At the same time, when faced with the 4 Long Jing who were making a comeback again, Duan Lingtian not only flinched without the slightest fear, but even dazzled and greeted him with a flash of body shape. In the process of Duan Lingtian rushing out, while the power of the surrounding space storm swept across the void, another Duan Lingtian appeared. However, the gaze of this Duan Lingtian seemed a bit dull. However, although the person looked a little dull and sluggish, when he moved, he was not much slower than Duan Lingshan's deity, and even more concise and crisp. Law clone. Zhong Yu's pupil shrank slightly. Is this man from 10,000 realms? Although there are also law clones in the inheritance bloodline of powerful forces in the outside world, there are very few and more powerful people with law clones from the 10,000 realms outside the outside world. Wanjia, to Zhongyu, is both familiar and unfamiliar. The reason why he is said to be familiar is because he has heard from his elders since he was a child that the strong realms in the 10,000 realms are like clouds, especially the upper 3 realms. They have the realms strong realms comparable to the sages outside their realms. In addition, in their tailing Zhong clan, There are also some offerings from the 10,000 realms. Therefore, he is somewhat familiar with 10,000 realms. Of course, while he is familiar with this aspect, because he has never been to the 10,000 worlds, all kinds of understanding of the 10,000 worlds are only heard. So in this respect, he is very unfamiliar with the 10,000 worlds. He only knew the powers of the saints in the 3 realms of the 10,000 worlds, and the powers under the saints, he didn't know much. This person, if he really comes from 10,000 realms, then there is a high probability that he comes from a semi-sage force in 10,000 realms. Thinking of all the previous things, Zhong Yu quickly had an inference in his heart. At the same time that Zhong Yu's thoughts fell, the 6 figures in the field had already clashed together again. Duan Lingtian, 2 enemies 4. Of course, the law clone is not actually an outsider, so it is not an exaggeration to say that Duan Lingtian is 1 enemy 4. After all, while he has the law clone, he has no blood to rely on. As for the 4 people on the opposite side, the power of the bloodline exploded at this time, and they spared no effort, clearly wanting to join forces to suppress Duan Lingtian. Hu Fian. Zhong Yu looked at Hu Fian, and the voice transmission asked, "This one, from which realm of the 10,000 realms? Who told you that he is a man of 10,000 realms?" Although Hu Fian marveled at Zhong Yu's keenness in his heart, when he responded, he was imaginary. Okay. And Zhong Yu was also successfully misled by Hu Fian. If it weren't from the 10,000 realms, then it could only come from one of the dozen forces. In places outside the realm, the inherited bloodline does not contain the power of the bloodline, and there are only a few more than a dozen powers that are more than half holy who are clones of the law. And there is only one such saint power. Wrong. Suddenly, Zhong Yu seemed to think of something and shook his head. The Zhong clan behind me is a family, so I habitually think about family power. This person who owns the law clone does not mean that he does not belong to other powerful forces in the outside world, except for those who are not from the dozens of family forces in the outside world. Perhaps he came from a powerful sect outside the world. Or maybe he is a disciple of a semi-holy or above powerhouse. The reason why Duan Lingtian had a semi-sage behind it was completely because he felt that Duan Lingtian was not jealous of him, let alone fearful. And the Tailing Zhong clan behind him is, anyhow, a powerful force in the second echelon in Pingxiong. Although there is no semi-sage power in control, there are also several strong in the clan. Among them, there is also an existence like Hu Bugui, the commander of the Yintian army, who is close to a half-sage. Such a force, the other party is not afraid. It is obviously bigger. Okay. And while Zhong Yu was still speculating, the loud roar from his ears and the terrifying aftermath of oncoming power made him have to rush to resist. All the distracted attention was also completely condensed at this moment and fell on the field. At this time, Duan Lingtian and Lung Jing's second confrontation finally had a result after a brief head-on confrontation. How's it going? Zhong Yu's heart moved. Hu Fian, who was not far away, was also staring at the field, the smoke and dust in the sky, from the beginning of the billowing to the present gradually falling. But it was a matter of instant effort. The smoke dissipated, and everything in the field clearly fell into the eyes of Hu Fian and Zhong Yu. But the next moment, the two of them were all together for a while, their eyes dull. End of this chapter. Please remember the domain name of this book's first publication, _WAP. Chapter 4478. Under the eyes of Hu Fian and Zhong Yu, the 4 Long Jing stood apart in the distance, panting, pale and bleeding from the corners of their mouths, obviously suffering serious injuries. On the other side, a young man dressed in purple stood there with a pale face. As for his law clone, at this time, he looked a little illusory, as if he might collapse at any time. If you don't enter the invincible high-ranking gods, you still can't completely crush these existences that are close to the invincible high-ranking gods. Duan Lingtian sighed secretly as he looked at the 4 people in the distance. Just now, he can say that he has shot with all his strength, even if no other laws are used. Other laws, before reaching the realm of small perfection, in fact, the algorithm is cloned. Faced with such a battle, it is also cannon fodder, and it is of little use at all. Of course, in this battle, Duan Lingtian is proud that he did not use the power of the Tree of Life in the small world in his body, and the power of one of the 5 element gods, Jingshi Shinshui. If it is borrowed, Lung Jing's 4 will be further traumatized by him, and he himself will not be so embarrassed. Even though, he is far from being embarrassed by the Lung Jing 4 now. As for the complete defeat, and even the killing of the 4 Lung Jing, even with the help of the Life Tree and Jingshi Shinshui in the small world inside the body, Duan Lingtian couldn't do it. Unless, the power of his law goes one step further and enters the realm of Dzogchen. Or maybe, his Kendo takes a big step forward. Both, once realized, Duan Lingtian will officially become the invincible high-ranking god, becoming a rare existence in this area of heaven and earth than the strongest. But, the law of space, if you want to go further, it is extremely difficult, not only requires understanding, but also requires a lot of luck, or chance. This time, my space law can smoothly enter the realm of small perfection. In addition to my past accumulation, more importantly, it is because I recently got recorded floating shadow beads shot by an invincible upper who is good at space law. In terms of Kendo, I haven't improved in a long time. It feels, the further you go, the harder it is to improve. It's like, my current state has come to an end. Perhaps, find some time. Go back to the gods, find the master, and discuss with him. It should be a little enlightening. Duan Lingtian's Kendo was enlightened by Feng Qingyang. Even if he walked out of his own way of space Kendo behind, it was still born out of Feng Qingyang's own Kendo. Perhaps Duan Lingtian's current overall strength is not weaker than Feng Qingyang, or even stronger. However, in terms of Kendo, Duan Lingtian knows himself well, and there is still some distance from the gentle wind of the master. If my swordsmanship can reach the level of a master, I am afraid that after the breakthrough of the law of space, I will already be an invincible high-ranking god. Duan Lingtian secretly said. It is precisely because of this that he can further deeply realize how terrifying his master's accomplishments in swordsmanship are. Perhaps, even if it is a realm powerhouse, that is, Asage from outside the world, who is good at one of the 4 ways of heaven and earth, it is difficult to find a person who can match the master in the way of weapons, let alone find someone who surpasses the master. Duan Lingtian also had a further understanding of this point after coming to the outside world. The strongest, as long as they comprehend the law to the realm of great perfection, even if they don't perceive any of the 4 paths of heaven and earth, they have the strength close to semi-sage. Some of the powerful trees of life can directly have semi-sacred power. It is precisely because of this that after the invincible high-ranking gods become the strongest, the worst is the strength close to the semi-sage. The strong, and even can have the strength comparable to the semi-sage, or even the saint in one fell swoop. If it is those invincible high-ranking gods who have comprehended the laws to the realm of great perfection, and also comprehended one of the 4 paths of heaven and earth to extremely high attainments, after becoming the strongest, they will directly have the strength of saints, such as Duan Lingtian now. If Duan Lingtian now comprehends the law of space to the realm of Dzogchen, and then becomes the strongest, with the swordsmanship he now masters, he can directly have the strength of a saint. At this moment, Duan Lingtian sighed secretly here, regretting that he felt that he couldn't completely crush the 4 people in front of him, which was a big shortcoming. On the other side, apart from Hu Fian and Zhongyu being shocked by Duan Lingtian's hands, the 4 Longjing who had just experienced an unusual collision with Duan Lingtian at this time looked at Duan Lingtian with sincere eyes. Horrified and unbelievable. How can he be so strong? Obviously, it is not the invincible high-ranking god. His Kendo is too strong. It feels. Even if Linghu Yundi is here, he may not be his opponent. Lung Jing's heart trembled. He didn't believe that the opponent was weaker than Linghu Yundi before, but after another confrontation just now, and it was a confrontation with his full shot, he had to believe. The opponent does have the strength not weaker than Linghu Yundi. This person, who is it? With such strength, let alone in our Pingxiong realm, even if we look at the 3 holy realms, or even places outside the realm, they are definitely not unknown people. Which power is he from? The other three from the Tai Ling Zhong clan were close to the invincible high-ranking gods. When they stared at Duan Lingtian, their hearts trembled constantly. As for Zhongyu, after some communication with Long Jing, his heart was also weak. As far as the offline situation is concerned, they do not have any upper hand, and it can even be said to be a disadvantage. If they are really fighting for life and death, I am afraid they are still slightly inferior. Of course, it is almost impossible for the other party to kill any of them. However, the more serious injuries are definitely on their side. Call. Zhongyu flashed away, and he came to Long Jing's side. At the same time, his eyes fell on Duan Lingtian again. He slightly arched his hands and said, "Your strength is admirable. My junior was killed by your servants, so let's give it up. What do you think?" Zhongyu, after all, chose to make concessions. No concessions will not work. If you continue to do it, even if you don't get crushed by the opponent, you will still be crushed and beaten by the opponent, and it is only them who are aggrieved. In the end, they could only retreat in embarrassment. As for the use of the projection object given by the strongest to summon the strongest deity, if they use it here, wouldn't the other side not use it? Not to mention the powerful and mysterious young man in purple clothes, Hu Fian, who can easily summon the deity projection of Hu Bugue, the leader of the Nyan heavenly army. Hu Bugue, the leader of the Yintian army, is an existence close to the semi-sage, not weaker than the strongest of their Tai Ling Zhong clan. If Hu is not alone, it is enough to easily protect the other party. Not to mention, behind this mysterious purple-clothed youth, there is most likely a semi-holy presence. If the half-holy deity is projected, if there is no half-holy on their side, the price must be paid in the end, even not a small price. At that time, it will be them who will suffer, and their Tai Ling Zhong clan does not have a semi-holy existence. Therefore, it is undoubtedly the wisest choice to end this conflict at this time, so as to minimize the loss. Humph! However, Duan Lingtian, who heard Zhongyu's words, suddenly snorted, "Do you think I am the one you can provoke, and you can retreat if you want?" Ridiculous! Duan Lingtian's stern shout made Zhongyu's complexion suddenly change, and the complexions of Long Jing also became ugly in an instant. Obviously, the other party is unwilling to give up, and this also made Zhongyu, and even Long Jing and others, more and more sure that behind this mysterious purple-clothed youth, there must be a half-sage or above. Otherwise, where does the other party have such confidence? Zhongyu. If the projection of the semi-saint deity is shown, even if we summon the deity projections of our two strongest ancestors at the same time, I am afraid we have to bow our heads and compromise. When Long Jing transmitted the sound to Zhongyu, his tone was a little trembling. Half-holy. Such a strong person, the cold clan of them, can't afford to provoke them. End of this chapter. Chapter 4479. Half-Saint. The Bingdi Long clan can't afford it. The Tai Ling Zhong clan can't afford it either. Zhongyu understands this truth very well. It is precisely because of this that he will compromise. Otherwise, with the pride of him as the young patriarch of the Zhong clan of Tai Ling, how could he bow his head like just now? You know, for the first time in his life, he bowed his head like that. "Sir, what do you want?" After hearing Long Jing's transmission, Zhongyu took a deep breath, looked at Duan Lingtian, and asked sincerely. There was no longer the previous arrogance, only politeness and a hint of humility. There was a semi-holy thing behind the opponent, although it was all his guess. However, even if it was a guess, he did not dare to bet. Because the bet is lost, the price is too high. Moreover, he is 90% sure of his guess. Therefore, he did not dare to bet, nor could he bet. I'm not a kid anymore. If you do something wrong, you have to pay a price. Duan Lingtian glanced at Zhongyu indifferently and said, "I heard that in Tailing, your Zhong clan has mastered a Elysium Flower Valley. I'm not greedy, Elysium Flower King. Just give me 9 plants." When the voice fell, he didn't care about Zhongyu, whose face changed suddenly, and then looked at Long Jing. Iceland Long clan, the captive Biming Hanyu, has long been like Le Guaner. On your side, I am also not greedy. Give me 3 northern underworld fish kings. Whether it is the king of bliss or the king of the North Sea fish, They are extremely rare treasures of heaven and earth, and they have a great effect on the cultivation of the monks under the upper gods. Even high-ranking gods can use them to refine their divine power, but few people are extravagant to do so. Even the Zhong clan and the Long clan would not allow the upper gods in the clan to do such things, because this is an extremely extravagant and wasteful thing. As Duan Lingshan's voice fell, Long Jing's face changed instantly. This is not greedy? The Long clan, although they raise the northern underworld fish in captivity, the northern underworld fish is very difficult to raise, and it consumes a lot of valuable resources of the Long clan. And the northern underworld fish emperor, among the northern underworld fish, is one of the only existence in a million. In the past 10,000 years, among the north underworld cold fishes raised by their Long clan, there have also been 2 north underworld cold fish emperors. And now, when this mysterious young man opened his mouth, he actually asked for 3? If this can be called not greedy, what is greedy? It is that their Long clan can now produce at most 10 or 8 northern underworld cold fish emperors, and that is already where their Long clan's deposits are. The situation on Zhong Yu's side is similar. 9 trees of bliss cow? This is not greedy? Why don't you go to heaven? Although he felt that the person in front of him was greedy, Zhong Yu didn't anger him because of the situation. He had no second choice other than active compensation. Zhong Yu. Lung Jing sent a message to Zhong Yu and complained. This time, I am trying to help you. What he wants from me should be yours. Now, Long Jing really regretted it, and he would have known it a long time ago. What happened to him this time? What happened to his frozen clan? However, Zhong Yu smiled coldly after hearing Long Jing's complaint. Long Jing, from beginning to end, I didn't take the initiative to ask you for help. You are the one who is hot. You must follow me to join in the fun. Including the comeback now, although it is my plan. Before I tell the plan, are you encouraging? If there is nothing wrong, you are afraid that the world will not be chaotic. Now, something has happened. Something has happened. You want to separate the relationship? Is there such a good thing in this world? Zhong Yu is also a little angry now. This Long Jing, he really didn't expect him to be of much help, including the helpers who came now, who were all members of the Zhong clan he had called. And now, having caused trouble together, he actually wants to separate the relationship? Simply wishful thinking. Your mightiness. Taking a deep breath, Zhong Yu looked at Duan Lingtian. He was irritated by Long Jing Chuanyin, and he was no longer in the mood to bargain with the other party. The king of bliss you want, our Zhong family can give it to you. But I don't have it. It needs to be fetched from the Hui clan. Okay, I'll be waiting for you here. Duan Lingtian nodded. He didn't expect the other party to bring so many king of bliss with him. As for bad debts, he is not worried. Judging from the current situation, Zhong Yu is obviously very jealous of him. The high probability is that he feels that there is more than a half-sage behind him, and he does not dare to provoke him. Not only Zhong Yu didn't dare to provoke, but the Zhong clan behind Zhong Yu didn't dare to provoke a semi-sage power easily. I will come back as soon as possible. Zhong Yu nodded to Duan Lingtian, and then he greeted his people to leave. When they came, they were majestic and majestic when they left. It's just that when the Tai Ling Zhong clan and his party left, they obviously lost their aggressive momentum. One by one, their heads down and their morale lost. When you come, imagine trying to push the other side and get what you want. When I left, the matter was unsuccessful, and he retreated in embarrassment. Zhong Yu took people away like this, all of a sudden. Except for Duan Lingtian and Hu Fian, there was only Long Jing left on the scene. And Duan Lingshan's gaze fell on Long Jing's body at this time. After Long Jing noticed Duan Lingshan's gaze and Hu Fian's gaze following him, he felt a chill in his heart. Not to mention that the young man in front of him is far from being a rival, plus Hu Fian's words, if the two join hands, even if they really keep him here forever, it's not impossible. 3 northern underworld fish emperors, I will get them from the Hui clan. While Long Jing secretly took a breath of air conditioning, he hurriedly expressed his stance to Duan Lingtian, as if he was afraid that he would be too late to express his stance, and Duan Lingtian would misunderstand that he was unwilling to pay compensation. When the voice fell, Long Jing also ran away in a hurry. After Long Jing left, Duan Lingtian looked at Hu Fian and said silently, "Didn't you say they would bargain? Why are they so happy? I asked to be lowered? I knew that, so we'll say more." Whether it is the King of Bliss with the Zhong clan of Tailing, or the King of North Sea Fish from the Bingdilong clan, it is Hu Fian's idea and Hu Fian's suggestion. According to Hu Fian's original words, these two things are very rare things, so you can quote a price and wait for the other party to pay. Such as the Northern Underworld Fish Emperor, it is already a pleasant surprise to get one. Bliss Cow, if you can get 3 or 5 plants, it's not bad. Hearing Duan Lingshan's words, Hu Fian was actually a little speechless. The scene just now also surprised her. She never expected that Zhongyu and Long Jing would be so happy. Could it be that those two guys really thought there was a semi-sage power behind Li Feng? I'm afraid it is indeed the case. Otherwise, how could they cooperate like this? They are not bargaining. For a while, Hu Fian looked at Duan Lingtian with a bit more envy. 9 trees of Bliss Cow, 3 North Sea Fish Kings. Even for her, this is a great asset. This is the treasure that can make the strongest fight. The other side. On the way to bring people back to the Zhong clan and tailing, Zhong Yu's expression was so ugly and ugly. He never expected that this time he would lose so badly. Even if the strength is not as good as the opponent, even the background is far inferior to the opponent. Senior brother, you have hurt me miserably, brother. Now, Zhong Yu has already regretted being up for his junior. For a dead deceased, the loss was so heavy. Zhong Yu could imagine that his father, the contemporary patriarch of the Zhong clan, would definitely scold him when he returned this time. Once the 9 trees of Bliss Cow go out, this news is impossible to hide. At that time, his father will also be under pressure from the clan elders in the clan. After all, Bliss Cow belongs to the family, not his father. And the matter was caused by him. No. Even if I hand over the things this time, I can't make him feel better. He is carrying a lot of treasure, enough to make some strong people desperate for it. Among them, it also includes the Xian. A flash of madness flashed in Zhong Yu's eyes. 9 trees of Bliss Cow. 3 Northern Underworld Fish Kings. Enough to make many Xians go crazy. However, even if we want to spread the news, we must be careful. We can't let him find the heads of our Zhong clan again. It's best to lead this disaster to the Long clan. Thinking of this, the corner of Zhong Yu's mouth also gave a sneer at the right time. When Zhong Yu brought people back to the Zhong clan in tailing, Long Jing also returned to the Bingdilong clan alone. This time, the uncle must be under great pressure. I knew it. I want join in this excitement. When Ling Hu Yundi left, how good I was to go to the Hui clan. Why should I join Zhong Yu in the fun? Long Jing now has regrets in his intestines. Whether it was the Zhong clan of Tailing or the Bingdilong clan, with the return of Zhong Yu and Long Jing, great shocks occurred. After all, whether it is the 9 Flower Kings of Bliss or the 3 North Sea Fish Kings, they are too important and precious to the Zhong family and the Long family. However, when he heard Zhong Yu and Long Jing say that those who asked for these things, there was a semi-holy person behind them in 9 out of 10. Although the senior leaders of the two clans were reluctant, but they were forced to take out things due to the situation. On Zhong Yu's side, because many people testified, the Zhong clan also directly gave him things and asked him to send them there. On Long Jing's side, because he was alone and no one testified, there were several elders from the Long clan who bluntly said that in order to prevent Long Jing from being robbed of things on the way, they also followed this time. In fact, Long Jing knew in his heart that these clan elders were not worried that they would be robbed, but worried that they would lie to the sky and deceive the 3 Beiming Hanyu emperors. End of this chapter. You're tuning in to the Warrior Lore YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.